Hello everybody and welcome to Janet's Craft Corner. Today I'm going to do the Home Sweet Home wall hanger round. It's about a 10.5 inch round and it's actually a pretty easy one. There's only basically 5 colors. So we're going to get started first with our base. Our base has got 2 colors on it. It's stained on the outside edges and black in the middle. To make it easier, I'm going to stain the whole base and then do the black over it. And then I've already sorted my pieces over here and I've already painted my white. My white's here. This down here is the Calypso Coral. This is the Sage Mint, these 2 pieces here. And then up in the upper corner is some more staining, and the door is black. So let's get started. The easy way to stain is to take a wet wipe and to take some paint, and I'm using Folk Arts Real Brown. And take your paint and shake it up good. These are a little thicker lately than they should be. And put it on your palette, and then you're going to take your wet wipe and just kind of dip it in the paint and rub it off a little bit. Don't get too much on it, and then just start somewhere and rub. So just start rubbing. And see how I'm getting a stained look here, and then just keep dipping back in your paint as you need more paint. You get too much paint in an area, use your wet wipe to thin it out some. You don't have enough paint in an area, dip it in and get some more. It's really pretty easy technique, and it really makes it look like you've stained your board, which is what you're really, but you don't have to wait because it's acrylic paint. So it dries just as fast as all the other painting we do, and you don't have to wait in the middle, wait for it to set up. Most stains that you can buy today, you have a 24-hour cure period, so you have to wait 24 hours before you can paint the rest of your piece, and I don't like doing that. Plus they're messy and they stink, and I just really hate them. So this way you get the look of the stain, but you're putting it on using an acrylic paint. And bottom line is you could do this with any color. Now my center is going to be painted black, but to keep it pretty even, I'm going to actually stain my center too, because I don't want to be able to see on the edges where my stain came down over. As you can see, I couldn't keep my stain. That is the one thing with this, it's a little harder. It's hard to keep the stain in the area you want it in. It's hard to go along an edge, say right there, that line, and not stain over because you're using a wet wipe and they're not a precision instrument. So I'm going to go ahead and stain in this middle, although I'm not going to be as picky with it as I was with the outer edges, but I want to keep it as consistent as possible behind that black. Once the black is on, obviously you won't be able to see the brown anymore. But if I don't do that, you probably would be able to see, a lot of times you can see where the overlap is. So this way we get our stain covering the whole board, and it's an even application of black under there. So that's got all of that. And then we've got 2 or 3 little pieces up here that are also stained, that are trim on our house. So we're gonna get those, get us a little bit of brown, and just very lightly stain those also. And this I want it really, really light, because I want the name and date to show through, but I do want a little bit more than the raw wood there. Okay, so that takes care of those. So now then we're going to get our black out, and we're going to paint our stripe, and we're going to paint our door. And I am going to use like about a 1-inch brush. They're not as easy to get along edges with, but everything else is, but they'll cover the space good. So I'll just have to be extra careful around my edges. So as I cut this line across there, I want to get that line as clean as I can possibly get it. In those few places you have to paint a line in the products that we sell. We try not to. If you got a really unsteady hand, You can take and put a piece of painter's tape across there or masking tape to give you that line. That way if you paint over the masking or painter's tape, it doesn't matter because you're going to pick it up and then you'll have that nice sharp line underneath. This set, this is kind of a part of a grouping that we added, I don't know, a couple months ago. I really, really like it. And there's a couple of other pieces in the group, and there's a family home word art votive holder that's got the little house on it. Same basic house that we're using here, and then it's got family as the heart of the home, kind of in a stylized word art on it. And it's got a place for a votive candle on the back, and I bought some battery operated votives off of Amazon, and every time you turn them on, they stay on for 6 hours and then go off for 18, and then they come back on tomorrow. And so I like them. I think there is a link on a couple of my Facebook posts. I know there's one on the home cloche. There's also a home cloche votive holder, which is kind of makes it look like it's sitting in the cloche. It's not really. It's not clearly all the way around, but kind of makes it look like that. And what else is there in that set? Seems like there's something else, but I can't remember. Oh, some farmhouse signs that match. Our farmhouse signs, I really like those because I changed mine out. I have a set in my kitchen, and I have one of the breadboards is my favorite base for them. But you know, they can stand on their own. You can get the little stand bases that we have, or you can buy one of the interchangeable display units for them, which I think are 3 of them right now. Although I'm working on another one. First one is my favorite is the breadboard, and there's 2 different frames. There's a really, really simple frame, and then there's a little more complicated frame. It's got kind of got a 3D effect. And so those are the choices you have there. Now that's the great thing about the DIY is, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not manufactured. It's supposed to be showing your artisticness, some artistic creativity. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't get it quite perfect, that's okay. Don't let it bother you and just keep going. I'm painting in between the middle here. I got my 2 borders on, and now I'm just painting my inside here. The borders are the hardest part of painting something like this. And I doubt that you can see it on the screen, but there is some light engraving here, and those are just placement marks. You don't have to worry about them too much. You'll be able to see them lightly underneath there. They won't stand out a bunch. So if for some reason you want to place the pieces in a different place, in a different order, and you don't want those marks to shine through on something, just put a couple of coats of paint on that area, and you'll eventually you will cover them up. They'll fill in, but usually you want those marks. That's got our base done, and then, like I said, the little house, the door, not the house, the door is also in that black. So we're just going to put it on, and again, it's got a little score mark for where the handle goes. The handle's white, but it doesn't really matter. You can eyeball it if you need to. Okay, that's all of our black, and I'm going to actually go back over this piece with the brown. I thinned it out just a little too much, I think, because it really still looks almost like the base wood, and I want to give it a little more color. Let's see what we got left here. We got our Sage Mint. This is Folk Art's Sage Mint. I'm going to paint my house and my little branch of leaves here that color. For the house, I am going to use a brush, but for the leaves, I'm going to actually use a sponge. So I'm going to do the leaves first. You just barely dip your sponge in and offload most of it back onto your palette or onto some paper around you, and then lightly touch it. And you don't want to press too hard. You want very little paint loaded on it, and you don't want to press too hard. Go over it multiple times, but the more paint you have on it and the harder you press, the further down on your sides it's going to go. So that's why you don't want to do that. And then our house is also that color. And as with all of our paint kits, I recommend you paint from the inside out to your edges. That way you will not get nearly as much of a mess on your outer edges as if you paint from off the piece onto it. That'll cause the brush to leave a deposit on that edge. So you always want to paint from the middle of your piece to the outside edge. The home cloche was something we made in our Crafted by You that matches this. It was very similar to this. Maggie was in our Crafted by You session. Maggie was very creative, and she made it look actually like it was a brick house. I was really impressed with how she did that. I'm not quite that talented. Can't say that I didn't even think of it. But she kind of used a couple of different sponge sizes and a couple of different colors of paint, and got it to look really like brick. And if you want to see that, you can either go look at the home cloche on our website. I think it's on there. I think her testimonial or review, whatever you want to call it, is on there. It's also on our Facebook group. I'm just not sure how far back you have to go to get to it. But she did a really good job of that. If you're interested in joining us for Crafted by You, it is a monthly subscription group. And basically, we meet I send you a kit each month with everything you need to make your piece. The wood pieces, the paint, and then any embellishments that we might be putting on it. Now, as with all of our kits, I always tell you to be creative and do it your own colors. You don't have to do the colors I did. Obviously, with the Crafted by You, the paint that I had put in with it is the colors that I'm doing. But you can still use your own paint and change the colors up if you want. You've always got that option. And then on the third Sunday of every month, we get together in the afternoon for our Crafternoon session. And we have get together and we paint it, and I show you the techniques for that particular piece. I show you how to assemble it, and we just have some fun. And it's a great girls activity. It's a great stress reliever, and we have a lot of fun. Okay, and I went back over most of this a second time, but it didn't, so it's really not a 2 full coats though, because I didn't let the first one dry underneath it, and I'm just kind of getting rid of some of my brush strokes here. Final color we have, our little hearts here, are a Calypso Coral color. So we're going to get some of that out. Doesn't take very much of that because you've got those 2 little bitty hearts. And even though those are small, hearts are easy to do without getting off the edges. So I usually use a brush for them. You just kind of go from the center out. It'll get you, especially when you're using a really light color like this, it'll take you a lot less time because you're going to have multiple coats here. And so the brush puts on a little thicker layer of paint. As long as you're careful. You can usually get even the smallest hearts with a brush. There's a second one, and these will definitely need a second coat. But I'll probably start assembling and then come back over and get them because they're kind of the last things that go on anyway. But that way they'll get to dry a little bit between. Okay, I'm going to leave that brush laying out so we can use it here again in a little bit. And we're going to start assembling. This, like I said, this is really quick and easy, as you've obviously just seen. If you're really messy on your edges, you can use a brush or a acrylic marker to kind of touch the edges up with some black paint. But I usually don't have to do that because I get very little off my edges the way I paint. So that's why I say, you know, pay attention to where your edges are and where your brush is in relationship to those edges, so that you don't have to do that. You don't have to take the time to edge things. Again, if you tip it a little bit in what your light, depending on how your light goes, sometimes it's a lot easier to see those marks than it is if you just try to look straight down on it. I'm going to take the chance right now to paint another coat on those hearts because we do want them to get done by the time we're done. Pastels almost always need extra coats. Sometimes you get lucky and you can get by with, you know, like what I call 1.5 coats, where you don't quite let it dry between coats. But this Calypso Coral is kind of a picky one, and it actually, when I'm doing these little hearts, a lot of times I'll do 3. I do a lot of them in the Calypso Coral. I like the way it looks. I like the color it gives me. But a lot of times I'll give it 3 coats because I feel like I need a more vibrant, not darker, but a more vibrant color. Okay, we're gonna get our sweet and get it on here. Notice I pretty much put glue on every surface. I don't put it on very thick, but I do put it just about everywhere on these. It's not necessary. They'll usually hold without that much glue, but I like to be extra super sure. And I'm going to do a 3rd coat of this coral here. Whatever coat you think is going to be your last coat, make sure that your brush marks aren't horrible. They'll flatten out some, but not always all the way, so you need to make sure that you got what you want. Try to make sure I line this up to the outside edge here because I didn't put it on beforehand, so I'm not going to be able to cover any edge that I see there, so I need to make sure I don't have any edge. And the smaller of our 2 hearts goes in there. Nope, the larger of our 2 hearts goes in there. I guess I should have fitted that before I did this. So this one just goes out here at this corner edge. Now on the window, remember that the center's kind of on a blank space, so you don't want to paint glue on the center. You just want to put it around the outside edges. Makes the black from the window kind of shine through. And then the top of our chimney. And our little windowsill. Little greenery here. This I just kind of put a little bit of glue down the different parts of it. And finally, our plaque on our door. And there, that is actually done, and you could just use it like that, add a hanger to it. But you could also put a bow on it if you want. Just make sure it's not too big a bow or it'll kind of cover things up. So that's our Home Sweet Home round wall hanger. We hope you enjoyed this and hope to see you again soon.